Look, I know how this sounds. I really do. You've probably already judged me, dismissed me, written me off as some kind of horrible, selfish monster. And maybe I am. A little. But before you jump to conclusions, before you grab your virtual pitchforks and set up the bonfire in the comment section, just hear me out. Please. Just give me a few minutes to explain my side, to tell you what it felt like from my perspective. Because this isn't some simple story of a villain and a victim. It's messy. Like life is messy. It's about being trapped, about wanting something more, something different, when everything around you screams that you should be content. It's about what happens when you try to force a square peg into a round hole, or maybe what happens when you realize you're the square peg, and the whole world is a series of perfectly round, utterly suffocating holes. My name is Clara. I'm 32, and about 8 months ago, my husband, Mark, walked out on me. Not just walked out, he vanished. Packed his bags, changed the locks on our shared accounts, blocked my number, blocked me on every single social media platform, even the ones he barely used. All because I suggested that my best friend, Leo, should be a more integral part of our lives. Of our marriage. I know. It sounds absolutely insane when I say it like that, even to me now. But at the time, it made perfect sense. It was the only way, I thought, to fix what was broken. Mark and I had been together for 12 years. 12. Since we were 20, practically kids. We met in college, fresh-faced and full of silly dreams. He was my first serious boyfriend, my first everything, really. Everyone always said we were the perfect couple. Mark and Clara, soulmates, they'd gush. You two are just meant to be. And for a long time I believed it. We believed it. He was, objectively, the dream partner. Really. Kind, patient, reliable to a fault. Never forgot an anniversary. Always remembered my favorite coffee order. Listened intently when I talked about my day, even the boring bits. He was steady. A rock. All the things people are supposed to look for in a partner, right? My family adored him. My friends thought he hung the moon. He had a good job, a solid career path, was great with money, and he even remembered to take out the trash without being asked. Perfect, right? Too perfect, maybe. That's the thing about perfection. It can be bland. Like a perfectly cooked piece of chicken breast, no seasoning. Or a meticulously organized spreadsheet. You appreciate the effort, the precision, the lack of glaring flaws. But where's the flavor? Where's the unexpected spice, the crunch, the messy, vibrant chaos that makes life feel like it's actually happening? Mark's love was a warm blanket on a perpetually 70-degree day. Comfortable, yes. But sometimes you want to feel the chill, the storm, the rain on your face. You want to feel alive. He loved me, I knew that. But it was a predictable, gentle love. Like a calm lake. And I, apparently, was a tsunami waiting to happen. Our life was a perfectly curated museum exhibit of domestic bliss. Thursdays were takeout pizza and a movie. Saturdays were farmer's market and then an afternoon hike. Sundays were meal prep for the week, meticulously planned, ingredients already portioned. Even our arguments, when they happened, felt pre-scripted, following a familiar cadence that always ended with a quiet apology from him and a resigned sigh from me. There was no spontaneity, no wild adventure, no late-night, impulsive road trips. It was a well-oiled machine, efficient and quiet, and I was slowly suffocating under the weight of its flawless, predictable hum. And then Leo happened. Not happened in the sense that he appeared out of nowhere. Leo had been my best friend since we were kids, since kindergarten practically. He was the one person who truly got me. Mark loved me, sure, but Leo saw me. The real me. The messy, chaotic, loud, opinionated, sometimes incredibly insecure Clara that I rarely let anyone else glimpse. He was everything Mark wasn't. Unpredictable, impulsive, charmingly disorganized, and always pushing boundaries. He was the hurricane to Mark's calm lake. He was a brilliant, struggling artist, fiercely independent, living hand-to-mouth but full of more passion and fire than anyone I'd ever met. We had this easy, electric banter, this shorthand, this history. The first transgression? It wasn't physical. Not at first. It was emotional. I started confiding in Leo about my dissatisfaction with Mark, about the suffocating routine, about feeling like I was losing myself in this perfectly curated life. We'd always talked, but now it was different.
Deeper.
More intense. Late-night phone calls after Mark was asleep, where I'd whisper my deepest frustrations and Leo would listen, really listen, and then he'd say things like, "God, Clara, you're too big for that small life," or, "You were meant for more than scheduled pizza nights." Those words were like a jolt of electricity. They made me feel seen, understood, like someone finally acknowledged the wild beast I felt caged inside me. Soon it became a pattern. Secret lunches, work meetings that were actually long, rambling conversations with Leo at a coffee shop far from our neighborhood, text messages at all hours, jokes that only we understood, shared memories that felt more vibrant than anything I was creating with Mark. Every secret felt like a tiny act of rebellion, a small chip in the perfectly smooth facade of my life. And with each chip, I felt a thrill, a terrible, exhilarating surge of power. Like I was finally taking control, finally shaking things up. I told myself it was harmless. It was just Leo, my best friend. He was just helping me navigate a rough patch. He understood my need for passion, for spontaneity, for life to feel like an adventure. Mark, bless his predictable heart, couldn't provide that. He just couldn't. He was a creature of habit and I was a creature of chaos, apparently. So, I rationalized, wasn't it better to get that emotional fulfillment from Leo, my friend, than to blow up my entire life? Wasn't it better to have both? To have the stability of Mark and the soul-feeding connection with Leo? I truly believed I was trying to make it work, trying to find a balance. I was just trying to keep my head above water in a sea of beige. And Mark? He was completely oblivious. Or maybe he just chose to be. He'd hug me goodnight, tell me he loved me, assume I was just stressed from work when I seemed distant. He'd ask about my day, and I'd give him the edited, safe version, leaving out all the parts about Leo. He trusted me implicitly.
Completely.
Which, in a twisted way, made it easier. It felt like an unspoken permission slip, a green light to continue down this path, because he clearly didn't see anything wrong. He was so busy being the perfect husband, he didn't even notice I was drifting away. Or maybe I told myself he should have noticed. Maybe his very predictability was the problem. What kind of person is so trusting they don't see their partner spiraling?
That has to count for something, right?
The turning point, the actual physical betrayal, happened on a weekend Mark was out of town visiting his ailing aunt. Leo and I were supposed to be just hanging out watching a movie. But the tension had been building for months, an unspoken current that crackled between us. We started talking, really talking about everything. About how much we needed each other, how much we understood each other in a way no one else ever could. And one thing led to another. It felt like fate, like it was always meant to happen. It was raw, passionate. Everything I felt was missing with Mark. It was like I finally got to breathe after holding my breath for 12 years. In that moment, in Leo's messy apartment, surrounded by his half-finished canvases and the scent of turpentine, I convinced myself this was it. This was the real thing. This was the love I had been searching for. Mark's love was safe, comfortable, a gilded cage. Leo's was wild, untamed, a wide-open field under a storm-swept sky. How could I go back to the cage once I'd tasted the freedom of the field? I believed, truly, madly, deeply, that my relationship with Mark had been the lie. A beautiful, comforting lie, but a lie nonetheless. This chaotic, thrilling connection with Leo felt like the absolute truth. I felt a surge of courage, of certainty. I was finally choosing myself. Finally chasing genuine happiness. This wasn't just an affair. It was an awakening. A spiritual quest for authenticity. I went home, and the next day, after a night of barely sleeping, I broke up with Mark. Over the phone. He was still at his aunt's. I couldn't face him. Not directly. Not with the memory of Leo's touch still tingling on my skin. I told him it wasn't him, it was me. That I needed space, and to find myself, I used all the cliches because the truth. I slept with my best friend because you're too stable and I'm a selfish, chaotic mess, was just too brutal. He sounded stunned.
Confused.
He asked if I was serious, if I was having a breakdown. He said he loved me, that we could work through anything. And I just kept repeating, "No, Mark. It's over. I can't do this anymore." I hung up before he could respond, before his calm, bewildered voice could chip away at my newfound resolve. It was cowardly, I know, but it felt necessary. A clean break. But the universe, or karma, or whatever cynical force governs the lives of the self-indulgent, has a twisted sense of humor. The very next day, I went to see Leo, expecting to tell him I was free, that we could finally be together, that our adventure could truly begin. And he listened, he nodded, he even put his hand on mine. And then he said, "Clara, I'm so glad you figured things out." "I truly am. But this isn't what I want." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" I choked out. "This, us, what we have." "This," he said, gesturing vaguely around his apartment, "was fun. It was an escape for both of us, wasn't it? A bit of madness. But it's not real life, Clara. We're too different. You need stability deep down. And I need to be free.
To create.
To not be tied down." He said it so gently, so matter-of-factly, as if he hadn't just shattered my entire future. He even mentioned he'd reconnected with an old girlfriend, someone who understood his artistic temperament better. She was just passing through town, but they'd rekindled something, the exciting mirage, the wild adventure, the supposed truth of my existence, dissolved into a puff of smoke.
Just like that.
I had burned my old life to the ground for a fleeting spark, and now I was left standing in the ashes, completely alone. The truth, it turns out, has a way of finding its own path, even when you try to bury it under a mountain of lies. I thought I'd made a clean break with Mark. A phone call, swift, decisive. No messy explanations, no drawn-out conversations. Just over. I imagined him hurt, maybe a little angry, but eventually accepting it and moving on. What a naive, self-absorbed fool I was. I found out later, from a mutual friend, before she too cut me off, that Mark had known. For months. He hadn't been oblivious. He'd been observing. Apparently, my clandestine meetings with Leo weren't as secret as I'd thought. The work meetings at that far-off coffee shop? Someone he knew worked nearby and had seen us, too many times, looking too cozy. The late-night calls? He'd checked my phone records. The texts? He'd seen a few pop-ups on my lock screen, just enough to piece together a pattern. He hadn't confronted me because he wanted to be sure. He was systematically gathering evidence. Text logs, photos of Leo dropping me off at our house after I'd claimed to be at a late dinner with colleagues, location data from his own phone tracking app, which he had installed on mine years ago for safety and which I had completely forgotten about. He was building a case. Quietly. Methodically. Like the meticulous, steady, predictable man he was. Except this time his predictability was a weapon. When I called him to break up, he didn't beg. He didn't even sound sad, not really. He sounded cold. Clinical. He just said, "Thank you for confirming what I already knew, Clara. I'll have my lawyer contact you about the house and assets." That was it. No emotional pleas, no desperate attempts to fix things. Just a stark, absolute statement of finality. It wasn't the heartbroken Mark I'd expected, the one who would crumble and make me feel powerful in my decision. It was a stranger, a man who had already grieved, already moved on, while I was still caught in my self-serving delusion. And then came the clean break. He didn't just move out. He executed a full-scale logistical withdrawal. Within 48 hours of my phone call, the locks on our house were changed. Not just the main door, but the back, the garage, everything. He had already set up a new bank account, closed our joint one, and transferred all the shared funds into his name, leaving me with only the minimum legal requirement. Our credit cards were canceled. He even had a service come and change the Wi-Fi password and take our shared car. My keys, my access codes, my digital presence linked to him, all of it was gone. He didn't leave a single loophole. He didn't leave room for a single message, a single desperate voicemail, a single emoji. He vanished, like a ghost. The ultimate rejection. Simultaneously, Leo, my supposed soulmate, my exciting mirage, doubled down on his abandonment. After that devastating conversation where he explained we were just too different, he blocked me too. Not immediately, not as brutally as Mark, but slowly, definitively. First, he stopped answering my calls, then he unfriended me on social media, then he blocked my number. His old girlfriend, the one who understood his artistic temperament, posted a picture of them together, laughing, looking utterly enamored. I was erased from his narrative, a temporary distraction, a convenient ego boost, nothing more. I had lost everything, simultaneously, in a single, gut-wrenching week. The silence that followed was deafening. I was a pariah. Mark's friends, who had been my friends for over a decade, vanished. They didn't even offer polite excuses. Just silence. Invitations stopped. Calls went unreturned. I tried reaching out to a few of them, casually saying, "Hey, how are you?" They'd either not respond or give curt, one-word replies. I was an outcast. His family, who had treated me like their own daughter, became a solid, impenetrable wall of ice. His mother, who used to call me her sweet girl, wouldn't even answer my texts. It was as if I had ceased to exist in their world. And even some of my own friends, the ones who didn't know Mark, looked at me differently. A few tried to be supportive, but their eyes held a flicker of judgment, a hesitant distance. "You really did that to Mark?" their expression screamed. "He was so good to you." I tried, in my desperation, to reach Mark, to explain, to apologize even. But there was no channel open. Every phone number, every email address, every social media account I tried was blocked. His parents wouldn't take my calls. His sister, Sarah, whom I considered a close friend, picked up once. Her voice was flat, devoid of emotion. "He doesn't want to talk to you, Clara." He said there's nothing to say. And honestly, I don't blame him. You broke him. You really broke him. And then she hung up, and her number, too, became unreachable. There was no reconciliation, no discussion, no closure. Just a brutal, absolute rejection. And that's the real kicker. While I was spiraling into this solitary, self-pitying mess, living in a house that felt too big and too empty, with no one to talk to, Mark was flourishing. I'd see snippets, glimpses through a mutual acquaintance's social media. He started a new business venture, something he'd always dreamed of but put on hold for our stability. He looked younger, lighter, genuinely happy. His eyes, which used to hold a quiet resignation, now sparkled with a vibrant energy. He was traveling, learning a new hobby, even getting into shape. He looked free. And worse, much, much worse, he wasn't alone. I saw a picture, a casual group photo, and there she was, beside him, laughing, holding his hand. She was beautiful, vibrant, everything I used to be, or thought I was. He had truly moved on, found a new happiness that eclipsed anything we had shared. It was a bitter, unbearable pill to swallow. My life, on the other hand, just stopped. The thrill of the forbidden had evaporated, leaving behind a bitter taste of ash. My job felt meaningless. My apartment felt cold and cavernous. The excitement I had craved turned out to be nothing but a fleeting fantasy, and the authenticity I saw it was just a justification for my own selfish desires. I kept waiting for something to spark, for the adventure to begin, but it never did. There was just this hollow ache, this pervasive loneliness. I was stagnant, stuck in the ruins of my own making. Then, about 2 months ago, I ran into Mark's mother at the grocery store. It was early before the crowds, and I was just trying to grab some milk. We stood, frozen, by the produce aisle, surrounded by apples and oranges. Her face was grim, her eyes hard. No warmth, no recognition of the girl she used to hug. "Clara," she said, her voice a low, steady rumble. "I hope you're happy. My son is." He's finally found someone who values him. Someone who knows what love and loyalty mean. Her words cut deeper than any scream, any curse. You took everything from him, she continued, and you almost broke him. But he's stronger than you thought. And you deserve everything you've got coming to you. She didn't wait for a response. She just turned and walked away, leaving me standing there alone, shrunken figure next to the organic kale, tears stinging my eyes. The truth bomb, delivered by a woman who once baked me my favorite birthday cake. And then last week, it happened. The final blow. A mutual friend, someone who still occasionally talks to me out of pity, sent me a message. A link. Mark's engagement announcement. A beautiful picture of him and his new fiancée, beaming, her hand on his chest, a sparkling ring on her finger. They looked so happy. So absolutely, undeniably, blissfully happy. It wasn't just a new relationship, it was a future. The future I had thrown away. The one I had convinced myself was boring. He was building a new life, a better life, with someone else. And I was still here, alone, watching from the sidelines, a ghost haunting my own past. Do I regret it? That's the question, isn't it? The one everyone wants to ask. The one I ask myself every single day. And the answer is complicated. I regret the pain I caused Mark. Of course, I do. No one wants to hurt someone they once loved so deeply. I regret the devastation, the loss, the way I blew up my own life. But do I regret wanting more? Do I regret needing to feel alive, needing passion, needing to be seen for all my messy parts?
No.
Not really. I still believe I was suffocating. I still believe that relationship wasn't going to make me truly happy in the long run. I was chasing something authentic, something real. Maybe I just went about it the wrong way. Maybe I chose the wrong path, the wrong person to chase it with. Maybe I was stupid to think Leo was the answer. He was just a catalyst, a mirror reflecting my own dissatisfaction. Mark, he was never going to be the wild, unpredictable storm I craved. He was the calm, steady harbor. And I, apparently, am a ship built for rough seas. He couldn't handle the depths of my needs, the chaos of my spirit. He wanted a quiet, predictable life, and I couldn't give him that. It wasn't my fault he was so predictable. It wasn't my fault he didn't see the wildness inside me. Was it? I guess what I learned is, well, I learned that freedom has a price. And sometimes that price is loneliness. I learned that you can chase after what you think you want, only to find out it was never really there. And that the grass isn't always greener. Sometimes it's just a different shade of brown. Or maybe it is greener, but you're not allowed to step on it anymore. I'm still processing, still figuring things out. I'm still me, the same messy, complicated Clara, just a lot lonelier, and a lot more aware of the consequences. So here I am, 32, single, ostracized, living in a house that once held so much love, now just holds echoes. Mark is happy. Leo is happy, off somewhere doing whatever artists do. And I'm just here, sitting in the silence, still wondering if I made the right choice for me, even if it cost me everything. Still wondering if I'll ever truly feel alive again. Or if this is just it. My life now. A quiet, lonely monument to a terrible, selfish mistake. What do you think? Was I really so wrong for wanting more?